Welcome to Sales Secrets from the Top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. My name is Brandon Bornancin, a serial salesperson and entrepreneur, and I'm sitting down with the world's best sales experts to share their top secrets to sales success. Welcome to this episode of Sales Secrets from the Top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. And I am thrilled, honored, humbled, and grateful to have with me B2B sales growth expert, LinkedIn top voices game changer, B2B sales strategist, women in sales leader, AISP member, and speaker, Lori Richardson. How are you doing today? Thanks for joining us.
I'm fantastic, Brandon. Great to see you.
Absolutely. So, Lori, thank you so much for taking the time to share your top sales secret and talk about your career in sales with us today. And for those of you who don't know, like I've been following Lori. Lori's this founder and CEO of Score More Sales, and you've been producing content and sharing sales strategies and speaking for a while now. But now you're a LinkedIn top voice, and you're a powerful women in sales advocate. Like, I'm really excited for everyone. I personally learned a lot from you, but I know the audience is dying to know, where did you come from? How did you get started in sales? What are the sales successes and failures that you've had throughout your career? And just take it from the top. And then, of course, the audience is even more eager to know, what is your top sales secret? But let's start with, where you come from, Lori, and how'd you get started in sales?
Yeah, I grew up in a family-run business. My grandmother had a women's apparel store, and I grew up in Seattle, Washington. Ooh, Seattle. Shout out.
That's awesome. My family lived in Seattle for like a good 4 to 5 years. I never did, but they did.
Yeah, it was a great place. And I became a teacher. So I started working with kids at a young age. I was in my early 20s, and I became a single mom. And when I became a single mom, head of the household, I realized I couldn't afford my teacher's salary. I couldn't afford to raise my family. So I went back to my roots, and I thought about, what I had done with my grandmother, and I went back and got into selling. There we go. I got back into, I thought, what could I sell that could give me as much money as any head of household, predominantly male, could make? And that was sales. And it was technology at the time.
Wow.
And so I just dove into it. And that's how it all started. I started on straight commission, Brandon.
Oh, wow. So literally you were a single mother. Yeah. So were you a single mother and you're like, I can't make ends meet with this teaching gig?
Yeah. And a guy told me in this technology company, he said, there's more money here in crumbs than you'll ever make in teaching. And I believed him. And
that's such a great pitch.
And it was
there's more money in crumbs.
So I worked on crumbs at first, and I had to hunt my meal, and so I didn't make money until I sold stuff, and it was, looking back, it was a great way to get going. It's like dropping you in to learn how to swim, drop in the water.
So your family, you're running this family-based business, right? Your grandmother was running this retail company.
Yeah.
And you end up going into teaching, can't make ends meet, or it's difficult to make ends meet, as the provider of your family. When you heard about going into sales, like, were you scared, or were you in this survival, whatever it takes, this is what I got to do mode?
I was focused on wanting to make a good living, and so I looked at non-traditional jobs for women, scaffolding, pouring cement, flagging, all these different things. And then I realized technology was, at that time, there were a lot of cool things happening. And I knew that I knew how to sell because I grew up with my grandmother teaching me the ropes. And I
Wow.
learned about referrals, and I learned about, not discounting. I learned all these things without really thinking about it until that point. And I just put two and two together, and it worked out.
That's incredible. So the commission, so you're like, okay. And was the only opportunity that you could find like just straight commission?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're probably like, hey, you're a teacher.
Yeah. What do you know?
What do you know? And was it, and again, like my parents brought me up, like I don't see sex, race, gender, any of that jazz. But back then, was it hard as a woman to like go into sales and get a job, or was it easy? Like, was there discrimination back then? Like, how did that work out?
So lucky, Brandon, because I ended up going, you wonder how things happen, if they're accidents or things really work out the way they're meant to be. But I walked into a company that was in big growth mode. It's a lot of young people, male, female, everybody was just focused on selling. And it was an amazing group. I still keep up with a few of those folks. Some of them went on to Microsoft because we were in the Seattle area, made their millions and at a very young age. And I got a great start with that group. But it was my second career when I went to the next company that they had never hired a woman in sales. And that's
wow.
That's what I had to prove myself.
What were you selling for the commission one? What were you selling?
We were selling computers, the first personal computers. It was when people were buying, companies had mainframes and mini computers, and no one wanted this idea of we were trying to help Microsoft and IBM and Hewlett Packard and those guys get the idea that there are personal computers that we can all use. And it was the mid 80s.
Damn. So were you calling when you took that commission sales job selling the personal computers? And it's funny, my father, before he started his career at CA Technologies, he was selling personal computers at Macy's stores.
That's great.
Literally, like if you walk into I can't even imagine today, like walking into Macy's and buying an Apple or a Dell or a Microsoft.
Yeah.
So would you like cold call B2B companies? Would you cold call consumers?
Yeah. I worked retail, which is crazy.
Like selling computers like my father in the retail stores?
Our store. Yeah. We were in downtown Seattle. The company was called The Bite Shop, Bite Shops Northwest. And it was started by the brother of the guy who sold the first Apple computers in the Bay Area.
Wow.
And, we did $1 million a month out of our little retail shop. And it was a hustle. There were a lot of great people. Some worked corporate accounts. We worked retail, and then you got promoted into corporate accounts. So when I got into corporate accounts, I think they gave me a zip code or something, just here you go.
That's awesome. Call any, and you didn't have like Seamless.AI or you didn't have like any of these sales D&B platforms.
Yes.
Oh man.
List. But I had a couple of skyscrapers like the Columbia Center in downtown Seattle, which is still a big, 71 floor building.
Yeah. Would you use like the size of the building to be like, okay, they got budget. We're calling on that company.
Some good companies in there. And you'd go, you go up and down the elevator and, call people and set appointments. But it was a Wild West for sure.
Yeah. No, when you and I first chatted, I was really impressed like weeks ago when we first connected about how you went and you were like, I got to go into sales. I have to provide for my family, to provide for your daughter, right?
Your son.
Your son. Yeah, your son. And that's just really admirable to be like, whatever it takes, I got to earn as much money as possible. So you start selling these computers. And then I believe you went and led inside sales. Like the next thing was like you did Thomson Reuters, right? Or Thomson. Yeah. Walk us through like, what did you learn at the computer sales company, selling these personal computers that you then leverage to go to the next thing, like a success and a failure there?
Yeah. So the computer industry was really crazy. It was really fast paced, and eventually companies are being acquired by other companies. And there was it was a tumultuous industry. And I ended up working for a couple of companies. I ended up working for Siemens because we were acquired by them. And I worked for several large companies. I reported as an Apple business development manager for a period of time. So I had big company background and also, regional company background. And I learned something from every job. And, that I'm not going to give you my answer yet about that one thing.
That one secret. Yeah.
But this is part of it, is that I worked at it. You gain from every opportunity, every exchange, every company that you're with, all the people that you're around. This morning, I was at a local company working with an SDR team, and they were telling me some things. So that I'm not just sitting in an office, thinking I got all the answers. Like, I'm listening to today on, this date, what are their challenges in getting meetings set up?
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's funny, it's interesting to me when I talk to people, sales leaders or sales development reps or outside salespeople, where, you hear about these different ideas or strategies and they just criticize them all online or on LinkedIn. And it's like, I'm like, guys, just take it for what it is. Try to learn from it. Create a play to use in the future and try it. Don't use your opinion. Use data to tell you what works and doesn't work. It's always interesting to see that. So you're learning. You learned kind of from that experience. You go to Thomson Reuters, who I'm a big fan of. They're a customer of ours, and also I used their products before, previously, and currently. So tell me a little bit about. They were big on like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the training and the coaching and whatnot.
Covey. Yeah, I was actually a Franklin Covey facilitator at Thomson. Okay. And
wow.
I built a corporate university. So I worked for a company that was acquired by them. And I built a small corporate university, and I modeled it off of Thomson Reuters Corporate University. And so first I built an inside sales team, then I created a corporate university, and I did all the, certification on what matters most and these other Franklin Covey things that are more, soft skill oriented, which is.
You got to take your teaching skills and then apply it back to Thomson Reuters. That's cool.
It all goes full circle, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. And why were you creating this university? Was it to train your sales team or train like people there, or what was the deal?
So I built an inside sales team, and then I realized, you have to look around when you're in. The bigger the company is that you're in, you have to see what's going on, because meetings are being held that you're not in, and as companies grow, the company I went to, I was originally a 35th employee, and when I left, there were about 300.
Wow.
And I realized that I built this inside sales team, and I had these inside reps, but they also had regional managers that they reported to. And it seemed to me like it was kind of a double management thing. And I realized, that might not be a good idea long term. I had to think about myself and, me incorporated in terms of building my career. And so I heard all these college grads, people were complaining that the college grads we were hiring we're having trouble articulating our value proposition and even communicating well. And so I created a corporate university, modeled it off of Thomson, and we had all sorts of communication and business classes about how business works, and it helped the sales teams as well as the rest of the organization.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you do this coaching, and then from what happens next after Thomson? Walk us through. What was the biggest sales success and sales failure, if you can remember, at Thomson?
Yeah, I think the biggest success for me was that I had never called on chief financial officers, and that was the gig for these services that we sold as a subsidiary. And I didn't really know a lot about the stock market at that time. And I felt like a fraud, like people do sometimes when you're in a new role and you don't really, you think, oh, if they realize, I'm talking to a CFO, and if he realizes I don't really know that much, it's curtains for me. And so I had to find insight, even back then, we had to find reasons to engage someone. that hasn't changed over the years. And to get someone's attention and to show them that we might have some tools and ideas that could help them. And so that's what I did. I just, I dove into that, and I learned a lot. And again, it's part of my theme of what I'm going to talk about today is that you just have to, you fake it till you believe it. You don't fake it.
Fake it till you believe it. I love that.
Yeah. And
was it hard at first? Oh, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt. Keep going.
Yeah. In that way, I could listen, and I was able to say, that's a really good question, Brandon. Let me check on that. I'll get back to you. I didn't have to know all the answers. And I
think you look suspicious if you pretend to know all the answers, right? Like, I used to try at the beginning of my sales career. I used to, when I was sold for IBM and Google, I would be like, yeah, I know. I try to make sure I answered every single question. And then halfway through IBM, I'm like, dude, these guys have MBAs at some of the largest marketing companies in the world, schools in the world. There's no way they believe that I know all the ROI models and all this jazz right off the cusp of my sleeve.
Yeah. And it's okay. And the more confident you get, you realize I don't have to know everything. No one expects that.
That's awesome. So, okay. So you learned that. Was it hard selling to the CFO? How long did it take you to get used to prospecting, connecting, and closing the CFOs?
I not only did I build a team of reps that did that, but I did it first to show this company, the company that was acquired by TR, they had never had inside sales. So I had to show them how it worked. And then, I was basically an SDR or BDR, and then I'd hand off to all the regional reps. So I was working with all the reps in the company, and then I built this model. People loved it. And then we had all the reps do it. But yeah, I would say it was quick. I had to be good. It was just
I have to provide for my family. I didn't have an option.
Well, by then I was just focused on, delivering value. And it's something that I try to do in every interaction. If I can't add value in a conversation, I don't want to waste somebody's time. I don't want to show up, and our time is precious. You don't get it back, whether in sales or anything else. Every moment counts.
Wow, I love that. Every second counts. Every score more sales counts. So that leads us into what? So after the Thomson Reuters gig, and learning that you don't need all the answers, and is that when did you? Because I believe you launched your company right after that.
Yeah, right? I created 2 roles that hadn't existed before. So that was a really cool thing to learn. It was really neat to see 2 people with an idea build an incredible company and then sell it to a bigger company. And
so
then
that you went through 2 acquisitions.
Yeah, and so then it was like I just wanted to. One of the things was I was moving back to Seattle. It's a long story, but I wanted to do something where I wasn't selling and I wasn't managing. And I thought maybe I can help companies grow sales. And so that's how I started on my own. And that was back in 2002.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
I mean, and you've been running it successfully ever since, almost 2 decades later. So you were a quota-carrying salesperson and sales leader in the technology and financial services space. And I know you were closing like up to $100 million worth of deals, which is awesome. A lot of successes, a lot of failures, and then you've been leading Score More Sales for the nearly past 2 decades. Tell us about trying to build and grow Score More Sales. Prospecting clients, getting customers. What's been your biggest sales success, and then what's also been your biggest sales failure? It's interesting because you're an entrepreneur and a sales person. So it'd be good to hear.
Version, because I don't want to bore anyone with my entrepreneurial journey. It's I would say in many entrepreneurial journeys, the first few years can be tough. They were for me. I rebranded because I wasn't called Score More Sales when I started out, and so you learn as you go. But the short version is.
And I like to tell people at 36, like the first few years are going to be hell. Every company I start, like my first company, I got lucky and it was like sky high in the poker gambling industry. Second company was 3.5 years of hell. This is my third company after going into sales for 2 different careers. And the first 3.5 years, hell. Like how hard was it for you the first few years?
But what I thought about is that when you're working for someone else, again, there are meetings going on that you're not involved in when people are talking about your future and your fate, unless you're in the C-suite. And so to some extent, when you're working for someone else, you're always, your fate is not totally in your hands. When you're working for yourself, building your dream, you're going up the hill. And so at least you know what your surroundings are, and if you can get up that hill, you're good. You're good. And don't fall off, right?
Yeah. Don't fall down the mountain.
Yeah, it's a different feeling. They're different issues. But I like the fact that I could control my destiny. And that's cool.
So you were saying though that the entrepreneurial journey, it's been a wild, hard ride. So what do you think the biggest failure / learning experience was at the beginning? You said you had to go through a rebranding. Like, what was everything I've ever done, I've had a massive, at least one memorable, massive success and one memorable, massive failure that I learned a lot from. What would you say yours is?
Marketing in the beginning, just not a seller, not a marketer, and that's always been, a bit of a challenge, because the better you can brand yourself and you can convey clearly who you serve and how you help them. And it's a niche. It's not everybody. As soon as you can do that, you can attract more attention and serve people better because they know clearly what it is that you do.
Yeah. So, and it's funny because now you do it amazing. Well, now you're great at all the marketing and the digital and the speaking stuff, which is incredible.
Years, and I was going to say that LinkedIn was a huge factor in my success, because the more credibility I had on LinkedIn, the less people asked for references. And, they saw people talking about the work that we've done. And so it made it quicker. It was almost like a referral, where someone knows, hey, if Brandon referred you, you must be good,
Yeah.
And so
because you built up that credibility.
Yeah. And so people, really need to spend time and effort and be mindful of how they build their brand, because we all have one, whether you like it or not. It may be bland, it may be, neutral, but we all have a brand, and you really need to work on that, focus on it every week.
Wow. That's another little secret. Focus on the brand every week, every year, because people are going to be looking you up no matter what. Okay. And then what was a big success? So the learning experience was I underinvested in marketing, didn't do anything in marketing, should have tripled down on that. What was the biggest success where you knew, like, I'm onto something, or I nailed it, or I'm going to be successful?
Yeah, the biggest success was when we incorporated data into our process. So I used to be very reactive.
Interesting.
And people would say, hey, we're doing this, sales kickoff. We need this. Can you come in and talk about that? And I have a lot of sales background, so I can talk about a lot of things, building the pipeline or retaining clients, also psychology of sales, emotional intelligence. There's a lot of different topics. But when I incorporated a way to figure out help, I didn't create this, but I found tools and methodology to help know whether the salespeople on an existing sales team are coachable, trainable, what their chances are of being successful.
Yeah.
That helped me so much, because then it wasn't my opinion, but it was the data talking. And as you know, there's nothing like data.
I love data. Took me a while to realize it doesn't matter what my opinion is. Data wins every time.
And I got tired. I didn't like people saying, well, yeah, that's your opinion. I think we're going to do this, this other route. And now it's like, well, this is what your people said, this is the data. So that's fine. I totally get it if you want to do something different, but just know that that was the data. It wasn't my opinion. And I love that. So I swear by data now. When the Women's Sales Pro stuff, we're working on research projects and, data rules.
Wow. And what data are you looking at when you say like data rules and we're working on these different projects?
With Women's Sales Pros, I'm working on a project with Joelle Laban, who is building a digital sales program at Johns Hopkins University.
Oh,
and
cool.
We're looking into why it's a flat number for women's sales leadership over the past more than 10 years. Why aren't there more women sales leaders? And so that's a great project that we're working on. We're going to reveal more of the results. We've done part 1 of it. We're doing part 2. We're going to reveal that in April.
Yeah. And I know you and I talked a lot about that because I just got lucky. My parents like raised me to just love everybody and find the positive in everybody. So I don't discriminate. It's just weird. It's just like how I grew up. But I know everyone's not like that. And for any sales leaders out there, like the thing that opened my eyes the most, it wasn't Lori speaking, like it should have been, but it wasn't Lori speaking. It was my fiance and I read Lean In right when Sheryl Sandberg published the book. And I'm like, hey, Danielle, I was like, the COO of Facebook wrote this book. It's coming out in a week. We should buy it and we should read it. I was like, one day I'm going to build a big company and 50% of the workforce is women. I'm not a woman. I don't know anything about women outside of my fiance is always right. And I was like, I gotta learn like everything about women and how do they think and how do they operate and what motivates them and what do they look for in a company and leaders. And when I read that book, that like changed my life on how messed up society is with like how they program women and men at the beginning from being raised up until now. And I told you that and you challenged me. You're like, Brandon, hey, that's great that you got that mindset, but you have to be proactive with recruiting women in sales, in leadership. And then we brought on a woman COO. Since the conversation, we brought on a woman COO. We brought on 2 women marketers. We brought on 2 women sales team members. Like, because I told Phil, who helped set this up, I was like, dude, Lori's onto something. Like, we can't wait for people to apply because like women will wait to be perfect, and we need to go out there and we know how amazing they are. Like, start prospecting women.
100%. We want to meet 100% of what your job description says, where men will do 60%.
Yeah. And I mean, I would say in my past, I've done like 10. Like, I've applied for things where I was like 10%. I'm like, I'll figure it out. Yeah, that's incredible. I appreciate you coaching me personally and us being able to apply that to grow our company.
That's great.
So the data and women, so you start applying the data and data rules. Do you find that it's hard to teach leaders, sales development reps, AEs to leverage data to improve what they're doing?
Yeah.
Like, I find that everyone's so damn opinionated, and I don't care if it's your opinion or my opinion. I just use data. And I don't know. Is that
when
hard?
I was a sales manager in hiring, I was never more effective than 50% accurate in terms of whether a rep would be successful. And I thought, most of us figure we have a good gut. We have a good sense of people, have been around people for years, been around sales for years. I was never better than 50%. So I do run into people that think that they have a good sense, or that if they hire a senior account executive, that they don't need any coaching. There's a lot of myths that are in sales that, all salespeople deserve leadership. They deserve accountability, and they need something that, it excites them and encourages them. People deserve.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you said when you started using data for the hiring to figure out if people are trainable and coachable, It's funny because I think I know a lot about sales, and on a scale 1 to 10, I'm always trying to learn more. I feel like I'm a 1 out of 10 in everything I do in life, just to stay hungry for learning. But for some reason, I am not great at making sure I hire the best salespeople and that align with our core values. So like you said something at the beginning, you use data to hire great salespeople or to figure out where they're at in the score. Walk me through, like, what does that mean?
Salespeople are slippery. You know, we might have our best sales pitch to you, rather than once you hire us and you go out there. And it's, there are a lot of factors. It's not just sales skills. People think, you have a bunch of sales skills and you can sell, but there are a lot of underlying issues that will determine your success. For example, what you say in your head to yourself will affect you as a salesperson. And if you're someone that, thinks you're never going to succeed and, this happened before, so it's going to happen again, that will kill you in a sales career. I can teach you how to close business all day long, but if deep down, you don't feel like that's going to, you're going to be successful, then you won't be. And that's hard to convey in an interview because I'm going to say, oh yeah, I'm real confident. I'm this and that. I'll answer anything. If you ask me, what do you think about confidence, and I'll say, oh yeah, really confident. Right.
Anyone can say anything. Yeah. So oh yeah, I'm super confident.
Yeah. So some people are better at interviewing now, which is great. And, they're hearing about past instances of success or what's a challenge you overcame and things like that. But there are tools that you can use that will help assess people's strengths and particularly in sales.
So for Score More Sales, your company over the past 2 decades, leveraging data has been your biggest success driver.
Yeah, it changed once we started.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you just started looking at data for everything in sales? Like
I won't go into consult with a company or train unless I know who, the skills, what we have to work with the sales people and the sales leadership. So it's kind of a prerequisite for us. So I don't do those, hey, quick, we need a LinkedIn class, I don't do that anymore. I refer it out to other people. So but I want to make a difference. It goes back to adding value. If you spend the time and effort to bring me in to help your team, I want it to be a positive experience that we can all look back and see the ROI from.
And so you could get hired again and you could drive a lot of value and grow the business.
Yeah. I mean, it's you could make money as a consultant just one time with people. There's millions of companies out there, but that's not important to me. It's not about, a quick deal. It's about people going, wow, that was really helpful. Like you said about the Women Sales Pros tips, like that means a lot to me.
Oh yeah. I mean, dude, that one phone call, it was late, I think on a weekend. You and I chatted. You coached me for 2 minutes and I applied it. I mean, that's how I am. I just learn and apply from experts really quickly.
That's great.
And you didn't even know that happened. Yeah. So you've worked in commission sales. You've sold from computers to selling for Thomson Reuters to building your own sales training programs to then launching Score More Sales and to leading these B2B sales companies globally, how to maximize sales and maximize prospecting and appointment setting and closing. The audience now is dying to know, Lori, what is your top sales secret? Sales secrets from the top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. If you had to go back in time to tell yourself one secret when you were that single mother trying to provide for your son, if you had to go back and you just hired someone and you could only give them one piece of advice on a paper, what is that top sales secret after everything that you learned throughout your career?
The top sales secret is that sales is a craft. It's art and science. And you can't just by osmosis walk in to a company in a new role and just do it. And that's what I see SDRs and BDRs are always saying, like, just tell me exactly what to do and I'll do it. They want the secret sauce. Like, what's the secret?
Right. What's the
Right?
secret? Yep.
And I've helped onboard thousands of reps. And that's what I always hear is like, just give me that path that goes straight through the maze and not all the wind around. But, it's think of a craft like woodworking. I wanted to be a woodworker, actually, when that was one of the non-traditional jobs I looked into. And
nice.
It just didn't pan out in terms of, financially. So, but I think that I might be able to learn how to cut wood. Like I can go take a class and learn some basic things. Maybe I can build a box, but I can't build a beautiful cabinet or, something like that. It takes time. And so sales is an admirable profession. It takes work and effort. You need to be motivated, have responsibility, have strong commitment. And if you treat it like a craft over time and get better every day, 1% improvement every day, then that's the secret from my standpoint.
That's incredible. I'm taking notes right now on my phone. So sales is a craft. It's an art and a science. It takes hard work and a lot of effort.
Yeah.
You have to stay committed over the long term and try to improve 1% every day. And this is why I love this secret. This is why I study like athletes. Like when, I'm from Cleveland, so I love LeBron James and Tom Brady. I know you're from Boston. I don't know if you're a New England Patriots fan or not, but these guys, these power athletes, they're practicing their craft every day.
Well, and my son ended up being a professional athlete, which is funny. So he was a Division I collegiate athlete, and then he went on to play professionally. And
wow.
So I learned a lot, and that's why I ended up calling the company Score More Sales. It's kind of a play on the tie-in between success in sports and success in sales. There's a great parallel.
I had no idea. We should uncover that in our research before this interview. Phil's going to be in trouble. No, I'm just kidding. That's incredible. So do you kind of relate it to sports a lot? Like Score More Sales, obviously, like, is it very similar in your opinion?
Not the thing that I don't agree with is a lot of people think that you should hire former athletes, that they make great salespeople. And that is not, there's not a correlation 1-to-1 on that. But what is true is that athletes have a game Thursday night, and then Friday they have to show up ready to go again.
For practice.
You got to shake it off. You have to practice. There's so many parallels in why would you pick up the phone and call a prospect when you haven't practiced what you're going to say? And what's wrong with role playing? What's wrong with let's do some rehearsing about what we're going to say and how we're going to do it is very important. So there's a lot of parallels with sports.
What do you think about sales scripts?
I like the idea of bullet points. General things that I want to cover in a call. I don't like the idea of reading a script, but I like having an outline, I guess is how I would say that.
Yeah, just because we talk about, you got to practice. And I'm trying to think of like, okay, well, how can these sales, in your opinion, how can people improve 1% every day? How can they practice? How could they get better? Like, what have you seen with your coaching work the best for salespeople out there?
Learn who your buyer is and learn everything about them and learn who your buyer's customers are. And the more you know, the more you can strike up a conversation extemporaneously about anything, and it will tie in because you've learned more about the buyer than you have maybe about all the features of your product. So,
awesome. And do you have any tips around like where people can go? Like what's the fastest way to learn as much as possible about the buyer? I've got a tip, but I don't want to, I'd love to hear yours.
Other than Google? That would be, I talked to this group today, this group of SDRs that are awesome. And I said, you can learn about an industry. One of them, they work in banking. And I said, if you Google 2019 banking predictions.
Right. Trends. Predictions.
Just like we're being asked, like, what are the sales trends for next year? And it's going to be all over the place in the next weeks. But you can do the same for anything. If it's chief financial officers, there's information that at your fingertips.
Well, yeah. And one of my tips, like I love Lori's suggestion around you have to learn as much as possible about the persona. This was a hack that I found when I was selling for IBM Interactive because I was selling to the VPs of digital marketing and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I would just Google, I'd go onto all the job sites,
Yeah.
and I would pull up all the job roles of the VPs of digital marketing. And think about a job description. It tells you who they're looking for, what they're responsible for, their goals, their KPIs,
Right.
their success metrics. That was the fastest way. And then I would like, okay, if it's a software company with 500 employees, I would try to look for other VP of marketing job positions at similar companies.
Yeah.
And then I would copy them all into Word doc because Google Docs didn't exist today. Now we would use Google Docs.
Right.
And that was a great way for me to understand, like, okay, now I understand who the hell that persona is.
Yeah. And you can say, I don't know about you, but some of our other clients do this, and this. So you're not saying like, I know your pain, but it's more like, do you deal with this? Like, like these guys do?
Yeah. We've talked to these customers and this is what they've dealt with. And
yeah.
It's awesome. So sales is a craft. It takes a lot of hard work, effort, and commitment. You have to try to improve 1% every day. How do I master the craft? Besides buying secretsalesbook.com, where Lori shares her top sales secret. How, like in your, like, I love the recommendation, but it's a deep, hard secret to master.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to make it more actionable for people. So what would be your recommendations to get the best at your craft?
Listen, meet people outside of your company, talk to peers, find out what they're doing. Obviously, talk to the best people in your company that do your job, so you can find, especially if you're newer, find out what the top people do, not the people that talk and complain, but the ones that are busy selling, closing deals.
Yeah. Don't talk to the naysayers.
No, just ignore those folks. And that's what I did as a single mom. I was like in and out. I was there, focused, working hard, and I'm out of there.
That's a secret right there is like ignore negative people, ignore people trying to take away. Your colleagues will try to burn so much of your time and energy every day.
Right out of you. Yeah.
Yeah. You just got to avoid that.
Yeah.
So you're saying just go into work hard, stay focused on your sales goals, talk to people outside of the industry. Any other tips to master the sales craft?
Through things like AAISP and other organizations where you can learn what other people are doing in other companies. That's really helpful too. Good podcasts, good books. I mean, I still love reading books, and I do that, every week I'm reading something. I have a big stack of books I'm working on.
Yeah, I love that. And that's really how this book came about. Was I would buy the 150 sales books to try to become an expert in sales. And I'm like, dude, it took me a decade to read all these books. If everyone else has to get great at sales doing the same, it's going to take them forever. So let's just interview people like you, Lori, and share their secret in it.
Book.
Yeah, right. One book. You only need one moving forward.
Great idea.
No, this is amazing, Lori. I really appreciate your advice. Sales is a craft. You shared a lot of secrets in addition to how you have to master your sales craft, and it's going to take hard work, commitment, effort. You got to play the long game. Yeah. Is there any tips you could share or advice about playing the long game? Because like when I launched Seamless, I said, I'm committing 10 years, 10x, 10 years. And if we sell before 10 years, if we fail, like I'm not quitting. I don't care if I lose everything I have. I'm not quitting for 10 years.
Yeah.
But I'm just really fucked up. So that's how I think. Like, how does someone like you or the audience listening, like, how do they have that long term? Like, what recommendation do you have to keep that long term focus on improving the sales craft?
I think you tie it to something. Obviously, you have an image of what's going to happen in 10 years when you sell. You have some picture in your mind of where you're going to be or what you're going to do. And I think the clearer you can create a picture of what your short-term goals are and your long-term goals are. I'm a big fan of writing goals down and then having a methodology for achieving them.
Do you write them down every day, every week, every month, or when do you do it?
I write them down once a year, and then I do planning every week and I have smaller goals that I work on every week. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you break them down, your annual goals, into weekly kind of metrics. So that way you're moving. A lot of people, they'll just write down the annual goal and that doesn't do much.
No. But it's good, and to share with people on your team what you're working towards as a company, and when you have team members, to know what their goals are, what motivates them, because everybody's motivated differently. It's not all money. And it's, a lot of people have different rewards that they're looking for.
How do you uncover what motivates someone?
You ask them.
Well, that's just, hey, Lori, what motivates you?
Yeah, it's like, so Brandon, what are you excited about? You learn about them. What's happening over the holidays? What are you thinking about for 2019? What's going to really fire you up? What's going to make you want to pick up the phone on Friday afternoon, after you get back to the office after the holidays? That's what I ask people very straight on,
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's cool because what Lori's saying, like, typically they'll just tell you.
Right. And then I can support them in that way. They say, I really want to take my family to X, for vacation. Let's make that happen.
That's awesome.
Your success is my success, right? Your team's success is your success.
Yeah. It's funny. I used to be so money motivated when I was in sales like 10 years ago. And then I just be like, we're just on I put my mission in my headline. Like, I want to positively impact 1 billion people. Yeah. And I know if I could do that, I'm going to make a lot of money. By helping a lot of people make a lot of money. And it's just weird. I just don't even think about the money anymore. Right. I know we need it to grow the company and to pay our team members and to build our product. But every day I just you're on a similar path. Like, you're just trying to positively impact.
Yeah. If somebody reached out and said, Brandon, I know a way we can impact 1,000 people in this really simple way, you'd be all ears, right?
I'm there. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And it's funny, like you and I were both sick this past week and a half. And I'm like, I'm laying in bed this morning. I'm definitely sick. And I'm like, dude, what if Lori's interview can positively impact 1,000 people, 100,000 people, 1 million people? Like, we're doing the damn thing.
Yeah.
And
that's awesome.
And there's no Q5. There's only 13 sales days left from shooting this video. No, that's amazing. Lori, you're an inspiration, a coach, a mentor, an advisor to me personally and our team here, professionally here at Seamless. And I know to a lot of salespeople, marketers, entrepreneurs out there. Where can people connect with you, find you, and learn more and follow you?
They can look for me at Score More Sales, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, reach out and we can connect on LinkedIn, or go to scoremoresales.com. Sign up.
Awesome.
We have updates.
Yeah, and Lori Richardson's LinkedIn is Score More Sales, which is awesome. Website, scoremoresales.com. Lori Richardson, B2B sales growth strategist, expert, LinkedIn top voice, AISP member, and Women in Sales Pro leader. Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode of Sales Secrets from the Top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. Pre-order your copy today at secretsalesbook.com. That's secretsalesbook.com. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Sales Secrets from the Top 1%. We release new episodes every Monday and Thursday, so make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube to never miss an episode.